Hi, welcome to Sit Down with Suzanne. This is my very first show, and I'm very excited. The topic that I wanted to discuss today is something that I've been passionate about for a very long time. So, I'm going to jump right into it. It is who sets the standards for beauty. Now, if you do follow me on social media under Positively Suzanne, you'll know that I write a monthly magazine called Positive Vibes, and I kind of created that for those who do not have access to social media. And I created it's a free publication, and I give that out at local businesses and I hand it out on the street. But my topic for July is something that I mentioned that I've been passionate about for a very long time. As a little girl growing up, and I grew up in Jamaica, and as a little girl growing up, I did not think that I was beautiful. Now, I didn't suffer from low self esteem. I just didn't think I was beautiful because even then, there were these standards for beauty that I did not meet. You had to be light skinned, you had to have a small nose, you had to have straight hair, and I didn't have any of these things, so I never thought I was beautiful. But I thank God that one day I woke up and I realized that I was beautiful and I didn't care about what anybody else thought about me. Unfortunately, not everyone has that same level of confidence, and I think this is where we run into challenges. So, I really wanted to tackle the issue of who sets the standards for beauty and, how did they get their standards of beauty, right? Because if you dig deeper, you will always find an answer. I've worked in retail management for a very long time, and one of the things we've talked about, if we're not hitting a certain metrics, we have to get to the root cause. So if you're not getting your sales figures, what is the underlying issue? And that's is what I wanted to get to today. Now, the beauty industry is a multi billion-dollar industry every year, and every day they create different products. I think like every year or every other year, another makeup line is created. And, I am thankful for that because I do wear makeup and I do love makeup. I have nothing against makeup, but I think what the beauty industry does, it gives women this idea that they can change who they are with the new lipstick, the new mascara, the new color palette. And, I think it gets very dangerous because women start to believe that they're not beautiful if they're not wearing these makeup. And I happen to believe that people are beautiful naturally and they're beautiful with makeup. Makeup might enhance a few features, but it ultimately doesn't change who you are. Maybe I'm just not doing it right. But anyway, I wanted to dig a little deeper into the topic. And, the thing is that if somebody's not confident in themselves, and even with the makeup, they're still not going to be confident. So we have to get into the habit of teaching young people and even older people at this point that they are beautiful just as they are. I remember a few years ago when Lupita Nyong'o came out, absolutely beautiful, stunning individual, and I heard it within my own community, that she was dark, and that's all they said. Oh, she's so dark, and somebody decided that she was beautiful, and all of a sudden once she got accepted by the mainstream media, then everybody thought they had permission to say that she was beautiful. And I find that so troubling because and I think it's always been an issue, right? We feel that we need permission from some entity. Now I'm going to try and figure out who that entity is because, like I mentioned in the beginning, we have to get to the root cause. But we feel like we need permission to accept that one of our own is beautiful. And it's troubling. I have two little girls, right? And one is dark and one is light. And whenever I go out with them, I always get so many compliments from my lighter skinned daughter. And they'll say, oh, she's so beautiful, and they love her complexion. And I will call them out. And a lot of times, people are like, it's too harsh. But I need to teach my darker skinned daughter that there is nothing wrong with her complexion. I want her to love every inch of who she is. and her color. And I don't want my lighter skinned daughter to get this complex to believe that she's better than her darker skinned counterparts because she has lighter skin. So believe me, the task of raising young black women to be confident and to be empowered is not an easy task, but I rise to the challenge, and I hope you all rise to the challenge. Now, back to the topic of, who sets these standards for beauty. So, like I said, we feel like we need permission to decide that somebody is beautiful, and then all of a sudden they could do no wrong. And like I mentioned, that troubles me. Now, I wonder who set the standards for beauty, and where did we ourselves get our standards for beauty? Did we get it from the magazine? Did we get it from the movies? Did we get it from social media? And I'm concerned because I think that's where a lot of people get their influences from, right? From celebrities and quasi celebrities and movie stars. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love people. I enjoy the movies. I follow a few celebrities on Instagram, and I do believe that a lot of them are quite beautiful. But I think the challenge is when we look at these people and then we start to believe that we're less than because we don't look like them. And truthfully, a lot of times they are surgically enhanced, and they do have these makeup artists that, what they say, get their face beat, and they look outstanding with the contouring and all these different things that could make you look different. And again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with using these cosmetic products to enhance yourself, but we have to start to think about our message that we are sending out. And I remember a few years ago, there was this movement that celebrities were doing without makeup. And again, and everybody was saying that they were so brave. And I don't know if I want to live in a world where going without makeup is considered brave. I get it. I understand how cruel this world is, and I understand how cruel social media is, and the tabloids and the newspaper. But do I really want to raise my girls to believe that if they go without makeup, they're brave? Because there's so many things that we can be brave about. And I don't want going without cosmetics to be one of them. I want, if they decide to go without cosmetics, they go without cosmetics. And it shouldn't have to be a brave choice. So I started to ask people that I knew, who they think are beautiful. And, a lot of the people that they call out, are people that are lighter skin, have straighter hair, have long hair, they look a certain way. And again, I think they'll mention somebody who's darker skin, but they'll mention it as an afterthought, like, give me a boon or a boost. And I said, no, I do want your honest opinion. I believe that Halle Berry is absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful. But for a long time, she became the standard of beauty for black women. And that is, we don't all look like Halle Berry. Oh, believe me, I think a lot of women wish they did. And I think Halle herself, and I do follow her on social media, I think she's confident in who she are. But I find that she's also empowering and encouraging to other women and letting them know. So that wasn't coming from her. It was coming from other people. So, you're held to look like her. And funny story, within the black community, whenever you cut your hair, that, and you have short hair, that's who you're compared to, right? I remember there was a scene in a movie with Gabrielle Union and Jamie Foxx, and she had cut her hair and asked if she looked like Halle Berry, and he was like, no, you don't look like Halle Berry. And I was talking to a friend of mine, happened to be Caucasian, the other day, and I had mentioned something about I was going to cut off my hair, and I made a joke that I won't look like Halle Berry. And then he had mentioned that I guess there was an episode of The King of Queens where the wife had cut her hair, and she thought that she had mentioned Halle Berry too. And I thought it was only in the African American community, right? But it seems it's also in the Caucasian community. So, kudos to Halle to be in the standard of beauty. But I don't know if she would want that title. Would you truly want to be the standard of beauty for the entire world? Because this is what I know. When you're held to a certain standard, the same people that put you on this pedestal are also happy to take you right back off. And then you cannot truly be free. You cannot live your life, because if you happen to be in a car with the window down and one hair is out of place, it's all of a sudden you're not as beautiful. So this is what I'd caution, people to. And I sometimes with celebrities, when they get labeled as the most beautiful, to really hold back on that and not buy into their own press, because then they're held to these standards, and heaven forbids they don't hold up to these standards. All of a sudden they are not, who they should be. And I do believe that depression is a real thing, and I know that depression is a real thing, I should say. So if you're no longer held to that standards, you're not looked at as this thing, where do you go from there? So I wanted to examine where we got our standard of beauty, and if we got it from our parents, who did our parents get it from? And what gives somebody the right to define what beauty is? Because if you go to many different places, there is different standards of beauty. Now, some people believe tall, short, thick, thin, whatever it is. And it all depends on the culture that you're in. They all have these different standards of beauty, right? And so you could be beautiful in one country, and then you go to another country and you're not as beautiful. I think we have to teach our young girls that it is not just about our physical appearance. And truthfully, who cares about your physical appearance? Because beauty doesn't last if it's only physical. I think as we get older and, we take care of ourselves, obviously, and we age well, but we will get to a point where, we'll have wrinkles and we'll sag and, things. So, but if you have that same spirit, if you have that same heart, does your beauty not remain? I have met people didn't think they were beautiful, but they had such a warm and giving spirit. And I promise you, when I looked at them, I saw true beauty. I couldn't set them apart from who they are, because I saw beauty radiating from within them. And then, you'll meet somebody that they say is beautiful, and they're so rotten to the core that nothing shines out of them. So yes, they're a beautiful physical specimen, but that's truly all they were, or all they are, because they feel like they need nothing else because they have that physical beauty. And this is important to me. It's an important topic to me because I have friends that I do talk to, that I know that struggle with their looks. I have clients that I do counsel that struggle with their looks. And I'm raising two young girls that I want to be confident and comfortable in who they are. And I want them to be able to, just be themselves. I said this to somebody once. I never walk into a room thinking I'm the most beautiful woman in the room. I walk into a room knowing that I'm beautiful, but it's not compared to anybody else. It's not despite anybody else. I don't look at anybody and think, well, I'm taller, I am thinner, I am thicker, I have bigger eyes, bigger lips, whatever it is. I don't compare myself. I just know I'm beautiful, and that's it, and that's enough for me. And this is what I want to encourage you. Just be beautiful. Don't be beautiful as compared to this person or that person, because if you consistently compare yourself to somebody else, yeah, sometimes you're going to find that you look better than somebody else if that's where you're going, but then you're going to consistently be lacking, because there's always going to be somebody who's deemed more beautiful than you. And really, do you want your life to be consumed where that's all you're thinking about, if you're better looking than this person? And I think that's where we get crazy, right? Where we start to spend money to look a certain way. I mentioned earlier about the cosmetic industry being a multi-billion-dollar industry. Talk about the plastic surgery industry. The plastic surgery industry is even bigger, because women spend, and actually men also, but they spend a lot of money trying to look like somebody else and trying to be somebody else. And I have nothing against it. If that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. But I want to encourage somebody that you don't need to do that to look better. I think true confidence, when you believe that you're beautiful, it really doesn't matter what anybody else think. And that's how I look at myself. And I know that others might not think I'm beautiful, and that's okay. I genuinely don't think of it like that. When I walk into a room, I am simply me, and I will be as confident as I can be, and I can stand next to anybody, and it doesn't matter to me if they're even more beautiful than me, because I'm not comparing. And women, we've just got to get out of that habit of comparing ourselves to, another woman. When I get dressed, I dress for me. And, I remember they used to say that when women get dressed, they dress for other women. No, I get dressed for me. I put things that on that I feel good in, that I think I look good in. And yeah, I do want my husband to see me in, because it is a nice compliment when I get it's a nice boost when I get a compliment from the husband. But if he doesn't give one to me, I'm okay with that, because there's times that I'm going out and my husband's asleep. Do I then wake him up to, tell me I'm beautiful? No, but I will admit I have woken him up to take a few pictures. And at that point, no, I'm not getting the compliments. He's taking the pictures and he's going right back to bed. I'm sure you'll hear more about my husband in the upcoming podcast, but I call him my Prince Charming because he does go to bed at a decent time. And so a lot of times it's, I will get dressed up and I will go out and my husband or my Prince Charming is sleeping. And I love that. I really and truly do. But anyway, back to the topic of who sets the standards of beauty. So, it's funny. I always think of these photographers, right? And they're taking these pictures of these gorgeous models, and these models feel so insecure because sometimes the photographer make them feel that they do. They look and, they'll point out like a minuscule amount of fat on their body, or, what's not big and what's not small. And oh my goodness, you'd look at these women that are absolutely stunning, and they're feeling, self-confident. They're feeling like they're not beautiful. So these photographers, sometimes, but are they the one that sets the standards of beauty? And who gave them the right, to set the standards of beauty? I remember that song, right? Video killed the radio star. But so it was basically saying that, you're a radio star, and that was my interpretation of it. But then when video came out, I guess you weren't as pretty to be on the video. So in other essence, so the photographer now, they're behind the camera and they want these beautiful creatures in front of the camera, but then they're so critical. I wonder how they would feel if they were the one in front of the camera. Again, nothing against photographers, but if they were the ones in front of the camera. We do have to get better at this, people. We have to be mindful of how we treat people. And I will talk about this in the upcoming, weeks and the upcoming shows. But suicide, it has an all-time high, right? Celebrities are doing it. Young kids are doing it. And, it does have a lot to do with confidence. Because it gets to the point of depression where they feel like the world will be a better place. And I'm not naive enough to think that it's only to do with appearance, because there's so many other factors, why people are getting bullied, but it does play a role in it. So why do we judge people so harshly because of their physical appearance? And the funny thing is about beauty is, for those people before makeup, before cosmetic surgery, you were born that way. You had absolutely nothing to do with it. I didn't even used to think about it like that. I remember years ago I was working at a place, and this older gentleman used to come, and he was a lawyer. And I remember he always paid me a compliment. And one day he said, you're very beautiful. And I said, well, thank you. And he says, but, you had nothing to do with it. And I said, okay. And he was like, it's your parents. They brought you into this world. And I thought it was hilarious because, here I was thinking, oh, thank you. And that's really funny when you think about it, because we're lauded and applauded when we're beautiful. but we had nothing to do with it. So we feel like we have won a prize or we've done something incredible when we're told that we're beautiful. But did we really do anything to do that? It's I will mention I'm from Jamaica because that's where I was born and raised for most of my childhood, and but Jamaicans place such a emphasis on babies that are born cute. Now, if a baby is born cute, that's the first thing you'll hear. Oh, have you seen this person's child? This person's child is beautiful, and they'll talk about the beauty of the child, but these poor parents, like, okay, the child is born beautiful by somebody else's standards. How they had nothing to do with it per se. So they'll just get so caught up in it. And if a child is not cute, they'll talk about it. And I mean, this is a baby. This is a baby. So this is what I encourage. I want to encourage you with this. If you look at a baby, all you should be looking at is a baby. You shouldn't be thinking if that baby is cute and if that baby is not cute, because I will tell you, as a mother, when my baby was born, my baby was the most beautiful baby on earth. And when my second baby was born, she was also the most beautiful baby on earth. And that's how I believe all parents think. And they should think that way. When their child is born, their child is the most beautiful baby on earth. But, I wasn't even thinking of it like that. I wasn't even thinking of it like, my baby's most beautiful. I was just excited that my baby was here, that my baby had 10 toes and 10 fingers and was healthy and was breathing and things like that. But yes, when you look at it, it's like, it was the most beautiful thing. And it wasn't because of the physicality. She was the most beautiful thing because she was there. She was all mine. I carried her. And then she was in my hands after 2 days of excruciating labor. But then she was in my hands and I fell in love. So how can a parent not believe that their child is beautiful, right? So then we go outside and we meet somebody and somebody says, your baby's not cute. But anyway, that is a different story. I truly go out of my way to compliment other women. I truly go out of my way to let them feel good about themselves. I truly go out of my way to ensure that they know that they're beautiful. And if I'm friends with somebody, you better believe I'm going to tell them they're beautiful. I'm going to tell them often because they need to know it. And sometimes they might not be getting it from somewhere else. And one thing I also don't do is I don't compete with my friends. Like when I go out with my friends, but I think I won't even say it's young. It's, if somebody's your true friend, it's not somebody you're going to compete with. It's not somebody you're going to worry about, if you're better looking than them. I mean, my best friend is absolutely drop dead gorgeous, stunning. Just never thought of it in terms of, she's better looking than me, I don't want to hang out with her. I am absolutely proud to hang out with her, and we have so much fun and we laugh like all the time. But anyway, let's talk about this beauty. I really would love your thoughts and your feedback into who you think set the standards for beauty. So follow me on Facebook at Positively Suzanne. Follow me on Instagram at Positively Suzanne. I have started my Twitter page. I'm not as diligent as I am with my other pages, but that's also Positively Suzanne. And you can write to me at Suzanne at PositivelySuzanne.com. Just let me know your thoughts and your feedback on, who you think set the standards of beauty and who should set the standards of beauty, and then what you're going to do for your part to ensure that you encourage the woman that you're with, you encourage the woman that you encounter. And I know I say woman a lot because I do empower and coach, and all my clients are women, but men also, because men also go through it. I mean, we live in a cold, harsh world sometimes, and I think that it is our duty, it is our responsibility to spread positivity. And part of spreading positivity is letting somebody know that they're beautiful, because sometimes people want to hear it. It's funny. I was in a class and this gentleman was in the class and he was talking about why women didn't go into STEM. And, he talked about women choosing not to go into STEM because they didn't think they wouldn't be deemed pretty. And anyway, I don't even want to get into it, but I was very offended by that. And I remember saying something to the effect, can I make a statement as somebody who's been a woman for a long time? Because I thought that was wrong. Yes, we as women sometimes we feel challenged by things because we don't think that we're beautiful. But I mean, men do perpetrate that myth sometimes that, we have to look a certain way. I'm very lucky. I found the love of my life at 22 years old, and I haven't looked back since. And I really wasn't looking at the time when I found him. So I don't know what it is like to be out there in the dating world. From what I've seen, it is pretty brutal. I mean, they have all these social media things now where you can Tinder and all these things. And I mean, I genuinely don't know because I don't have to do it, right? And a lot of times you are judged on your physical appearance. But I'm going to tell you, ladies, I want to encourage you. When you're confident in who you are, it doesn't matter what your physical appearance is. I promise you, it shines through. And if you work on your insides to be beautiful, it radiates from within you. It shines from within you. And honestly, who cares if a man thinks you're beautiful? Because the right guy will think you're beautiful whether society deems you beautiful or not. And that's what I want to encourage you about. You are beautiful. You are loved. Doesn't matter what you look like. If you want to wear makeup, wear makeup. If you don't want to wear makeup, don't wear makeup. I do believe that we should exercise because it is the healthy choice. What's the saying? Health is wealth. So it's not about looking good for looking good's sake. It really is about looking good and feeling good and being healthier. And you'll hear that is something that I talk about because it is something that I strive to be. And, I've mentioned on my social media page, it is a constant battle for me because I love desserts. I love treats. So sometimes I will choose those. But let's focus on taking care of us. Let's take care of our insides. Let's be better people. Let's be better friends. Let's be somebody who could walk up to a total stranger on the street and say, "You're beautiful." I've done that a few times. I'll see a woman and I'll say, "Oh, you're very beautiful." And they'll say, "Thank you." And you know what? At that moment, they might have not been feeling beautiful. Somebody could have called them ugly. They could have had a fight. They could be single. They could be married. Whatever it is, you just give somebody a compliment. This is somebody that you're never going to see again. But just pass it along. Give somebody a compliment. Let them know that they're beautiful. It takes nothing away from you for another woman to be beautiful. Their beauty doesn't stop your beauty. So if they're beautiful, they're beautiful. Let them know it. You don't have to be resentful. You don't have to be sensitive to the fact. It just doesn't affect you. One of my posts that I did one day, it's, like somebody, there's plenty of stars in the skies, right? And they figure out how to shine. We can all shine together here on earth. There is nothing that says that one woman has to be more beautiful than the other. Let's all be beautiful. So, I am going to end with this. As you go through your day, ask yourself, who sets the standards of beauty? Because if you don't know who sets the standards of beauty, then you shouldn't be following their standards of beauty. And when you find out, if you find out who sets the standards of beauty, figure out where they got their standard of beauty. I'm telling you, it's a rabbit hole. You're going to keep digging and digging and digging, and the answers might surprise you. And you might find it has come as far back as history. Now, remember, if you're a black woman, if you're an African American woman, back in the day, we weren't looked on as beautiful. So if they're getting things based on that, then they're not going to think we're beautiful. And it's okay, because we don't need anybody else to think we're beautiful. You don't need anybody else to think you're beautiful. You alone need to think that you're beautiful. And when you walk into a room, just be confident in who you are, because you are beautiful. I'm going to say it again. You are beautiful. You are beautiful. You are beautiful. And I want you to do this exercise. I want you to take a mirror, look at yourself, and say, I am beautiful. Not because of, not despite of. I am simply beautiful. And when I walk into a room, I'm not going to compare myself to anybody else. I am going to just be confident in myself. So that's it. I thank you for listening for our very first show. As the weeks go on, I will post more shows on more topics. I would love for you to write me again at Suzanne@PositivelySuzanne.com for more topics that you would like me to go over. In the upcoming weeks, I will be having some guests on the show. The show is called Sit Down with Suzanne, and a lot of the times, I will be by myself talking about a topic, but I will have some guests in the upcoming weeks to talk about some topics. And every show, whatever topic we talk about, I will be encouraging in those shows because my goal is to inspire, to motivate, and to empower. And I hope after today you have felt, if not one, but all three. Thanks for listening.